couple dozen of the top Bitcoin investors got together and maxed out to Trump. And these guys gave Trump about $25 million collectively. And he flew down to their conference in Nashville last July. Like, he came in person and he delivered almost all of their talking points and said he announced this plan to have the Bitcoin strategic reserve. He said if Bitcoin's going to go to the moon, I want to lead the way.
Welcome to Assembly Required with Stacey Abrams. I'm your host, Stacey Abrams. Before we start today, I wanted to do something. I want to say thank you. Thank you for believing that the individual actions that we can take that sometimes feel too small for the moment can actually work. Across this country, more and more of us are reclaiming the fact that the government is supposed to work for us. From the mail carrier to the national park custodian to members of Congress and, yes, to the people in the White House. They work for us. And your commitment to calling, to emailing, to showing up is making a difference. Of course, a handful of awkward town halls will not stop this wholesale assault on our national integrity, but it's an important marker and it's an important start. It's one that says we won't be silent and we won't go away. Because we have to remember, politicians have recognizable triggers. They respond to money, peer pressure, and attention. We're going to talk about money in a minute, and peer pressure has to come from within their ranks. But we can bring attention to their complacency. We can bolster their courage, and we can remind them that a job review is coming up in 2026. So, thank you for what you've done, and let's keep at it. Let's keep insisting. Now, to the issue of money. With Trump's second administration, we are seeing an escalation of the grotesque self-enrichment that marked his first term and his post-presidency, and it's what got him there in the first place. From foreign dignitaries spending hundreds of thousands of dollars at his Washington, D.C. hotel during sensitive moments in their relations with the United States, to a post-presidency hawking products like Bibles, sneakers, cologne, and profiting from his massive stake in his own social media company, there has been no shortage of efforts to use his status to line his pockets. And it's by no means a new phenomenon. And Trump is not singular, nor is he solely responsible for ushering in this political era of state capture, of mixed messages, of money buying power. But he is normalizing a more crooked world. We see this in the way he profits off of his position and doesn't even try to hide it anymore. You may remember his commercial that blasted through network television stations in the thick of the presidential election, one that peddled his limited edition watches that could be yours for the low, low price of $100,000. But what he left out in the ads, and what he forgets to tell us, is that these watches are crypto-themed and can only be purchased using Bitcoin. This isn't the first time that Trump has leaned into his unofficial role as the crypto president. A day before Trump took office, he attached his name to a crypto token, also known as a meme coin, that he called, not surprisingly, the Trump coin. Negative points for originality. But this move was immediately followed by the launch of First Lady Melania Trump's meme coin, and the crypto ventures didn't stop there. But what has befuddled millions, including a lot of you listening today, is what exactly is crypto? How does it work? And how is Donald Trump scamming America in a whole new way? We'll get into all of this and more during today's episode, including the ways that other people with skin in the game are benefiting from having Trump on their side. There's a reason that multiple billionaire investors with crypto ties donated millions of dollars to his presidential campaign and funded dozens of congressional races. While some applaud the president for embracing digital currency and pushing it mainstream, many of us are rightfully confused, skeptical, or both. So this week, we're doing a deep dive into crypto to explore the good, the bad, and the gray areas. And as always, we'll talk about where you, the listener, come in. To accomplish all of that, we're excited to be joined by two extraordinary guests, Zeke Fox, who is an investigative reporter for Bloomberg Businessweek, and Annie Lowrey, who is a staff writer at The Atlantic covering politics and economic policy, both of whom will be here to help demystify crypto, right here on Assembly Required. Zeke Fox, Annie Lowrey, welcome to Assembly Required.
Thanks, Stacey.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Well, I'm delighted to have you here to explain the very vague notion of crypto and why we should care. And so in order to do that, I'm going to start with a few establishing questions for Zeke. So Zeke, you've been an investigative reporter for Bloomberg Businessweek for 15 years, and you wrote a book on cryptocurrency called Number Go Up, Inside Crypto's Wild Ride and Staggering Fall. It is safe to say that you are an expert on digital currency. So here's the basic question. Is crypto real money?
Certainly some people treat it like it is. But I mean, the original idea for crypto was that it would be kind of this like decentralized money that would live on the internet and that people would use it for buying and selling like everyday items. Like maybe one day you'd use Bitcoin to pay for your coffee. And Bitcoin's has actually been around since, the beginning of my career. It's as old as WhatsApp, Uber, and all sorts of things that have become part of everyday life. And contrary to those, almost nobody is using Bitcoin for anything these days. And so nowadays what crypto is there's thousands of different coins, and each of them represents something slightly different. So some of them are still trying to be like money. Others are more like shares of companies. They're like digital stock. And then other ones are like these meme coins that have been in the news lately, are essentially tokens for gambling on that don't really serve any purpose other than that at all.
So if I'm going to say it back to you, cryptocurrency seems to me to be an amalgamation of monopoly money, poker tokens, and slips that you can get at the racetrack. I don't want to oversimplify, but
that's about right. I mean, I would say the most legitimate ones are basically like stock in the shady offshore casino.
The cryptocurrency market exists, and we have these traditional financial systems that do have different currency with different valuations, but one has been around for centuries, and the other has been around for a decade plus. How intertwined have they become?
Right now, they're still pretty separate. So crypto gambling has become like a pretty decent sized industry, and everyone on Wall Street can see, hey, there's a lot of people out there, not everybody, but a decent number of people out there who want to trade crypto to bet on the prices of these different coins. And some of the more traditional players have said, why don't we make some money on that? So they've come up with products that they can offer to you and I to try to steal some of that crypto gambling market from the crypto exchanges like Coinbase. So that's like right now you can buy shares of a BlackRock Bitcoin ETF. So that's like traditional Wall Street offering you a way to invest in crypto. But in terms of like big banks, major players making huge bets on crypto themselves, that really hasn't happened so much yet. Annie actually wrote about in a recent piece that I thought was really good, was that one of the risk right now isn't so much that if crypto blows up, it'll take down the traditional financial system. It's more that we've almost created this alternative, unregulated financial system, and sketchy players of all types going forward can choose that and say, hey, I'm going to opt out of the regulated stock market. I'm going to do something with crypto. So that could lead to more connections between traditional Wall Street and the crypto market. But right now, they're still pretty isolated.
So Annie, I want to bring you in on that. So is crypto something that can transform our financial system? It may not do it now, but can it transform our system and turn into something of great import? Or is it just a temporarily pervasive way to make money and to scam folks?
Yeah, it's as Zeke pointed out, crypto is at this point a lot of things. So a lot of these are not really useful as currencies, as mediums of exchange, because they're also speculative assets. So they tend to have an enormous amount of price volatility. And we've even seen that in Bitcoin, which is, the big and old and established one. It's a speculative asset, much more so than it is a currency. And then you also have all sorts of financial innovation or supposed financial innovation in terms of the way that financial actors might move money around in digital contracts and that kind of thing. So yeah, right now, I don't think that crypto, even if it's a very large asset class, has much effect on the American financial system. And even now, most Americans don't hold crypto as investments. But I do think that we are entering an era where there is going to be a tremendous amount of risk. And I kind of put it in 3 buckets. So one is that if you have a White House that is promoting and passing pro-crypto legislation, is even creating a strategic Bitcoin reserve, that more people might see it as being the same kind of thing as investing in the S&P 500. The second is that you could start to see much more interconnection between the traditional financial system and the crypto financial system. So crypto assets, crypto businesses could end up destabilizing financial firms that were heavily invested in them. And then the third, which Zeke was referring to, is the tendency of Wall Street institutions to take new regulations and figure out how to use them to their own advantage. And I think that Wall Street is going to be enormously creative in doing things like that. They have a lot of money on the line and a lot of lawyers prepared to figure out how to use these new rules to their advantage. And that, I think, is the biggest financial risk.
So if you remember WeWork, it was like this hot startup and people were, really excited about it. It filed to go public. They wanted to raise money from regular investors so they could grow even bigger. And when you file to go public on the stock market, you have to file this big prospectus that explains your whole business, all your financial results. And it turned out that WeWork's financial results were totally weird. There were things in there like the company had paid millions of dollars to license the word "we" from Adam Neumann, who was also the CEO. And the fallout of that was that Neumann was forced out and the company had to reorganize and to seek investment a different way. So basically, like, the market rejected this WeWork's filing. And nowadays, WeWork potentially could just say, hey, we're going to sell We token. And there's no rules about this. We don't need to file all these disclosures. But don't you like WeWork? It's so hot. Look, we got free coffee. All the cool startups are in our office. And so those are the kinds of rules that you could get around if there was like this alternative way for companies to raise money with crypto.
Before we get there, I want to take a few moments to do some primers. So, Zeke, explain what blockchain is for those who have no idea what we're talking about.
All right, so I like to picture a big Google sheet in the sky, and it's got 2 columns. And in column A, it's got people's names. And so it would be like Zeke, Stacy, and Annie. And in column B, it's got a number. And so let's say, 1 for me, 3 for Stacy, and 6 for Annie. And that's how many Bitcoins you got. And that's the blockchain. It's this spreadsheet. And the Bitcoins don't really exist in any other sense of the word. They're just sort of numbers in this spreadsheet. And if we were talking about Ethereum, then the numbers would represent Ethereum. Or Solana, those are Solana. And the reason people think this is cool is that the big innovation of crypto is that you can maintain this Google sheet collectively. Like, the users of the cryptocurrency keep track of who's got what without any one powerful central counterparty. Like, a bank kind of works like a Google sheet like this too, where a bank is keeping track of how much money each person has and who's sending money to who. But the way that banks work, you need to trust the bank and count on the bank to keep track of everybody's money. And with crypto, it's like the computers that run this network cooperate to keep track. How's that?
That's excellent. Assembly Required with Stacey Abrams is brought to you by bookshop.org. I love reading across genres, whether it's a great sci-fi novel that explains our world by taking me to a different one, an historical romance with a bold and inspiring heroine and a dashing hero, or a policy deep dive by a fellow wonk on a subject that is completely new for me. There is no limit to what I can find at bookshop.org. And right now, for no particular reason, I'm reading Survive, Reset, Thrive, Leading Breakthrough Growth Strategy in Volatile Times by Rebecca Homkes. When you purchase from bookshop.org, you're supporting more than 2,000 local independent bookstores across the country, ensuring they'll continue to foster culture, curiosity, and a love of reading for generations to come. And there's exciting news. Bookshop.org has launched an ebook app. You can now support local independent bookstores even when you read digitally. Use code STACEY to get 10% off your next order at bookshop.org. That's code STACEY, STACEY, at bookshop.org. Assembly Required with Stacey Abrams is brought to you by Helix. With all of my travel, few things are better than returning to the comforts of home. Ever since I got my Helix mattress, the experience of coming back to my own bed has only gotten more luxurious. With Helix, I can sleep through the night and wake up more refreshed and ready to go. Designed with the sleeper in mind, Helix offers quality rest and makes it easier for me to try and make my bedtime. Check out Helix for a better sleeping experience and use a special code for the listeners of Assembly Required. Go to helixsleep.com/assembly for 27% off site-wide. That's helixsleep.com/assembly for 27% off site-wide. helixsleep.com/assembly.
The terms and conditions of a king, a new beginning. Ariel, with her young daughter Jasmine, walked into the optical lens store one day to find King being verbally attacked by his coworkers. Witnessing this harsh treatment, Ariel immediately felt a deep sense of sympathy and concern for King. She stepped in, offering support, which forged a strong bond of friendship between them. Over time, as their friendship blossomed, they began to share their personal lives and struggles. Eventually, they both discovered something astonishing. They had been connected for much longer than either realized. They had been meeting in a shared dreamscape, where they had formed a deep, unspoken connection. Ariel had been there to comfort King in a difficult time, offering him advice, unaware that their paths would eventually cross in the waking world. This revelation deepened their bond, and they began to explore not only their growing friendship but also the strange, mystical connection they shared through their dreams.
Get your digital copy today at lulubooks.com and experience the adventure in EPUB or PDF format. Make sure you have a compatible reader to dive into this unforgettable journey. Don't miss out, unlock the secrets, and let the story begin.
The Park of Secrets.
In the year 2060, near the heart of Florida, just a stone's throw from Disney World, stood a theme park unlike any other, a place known as the House of Secrets. It was a magical park, much like a state fair, filled with towering rides, carnival games, and parades that drew people from all over the world. But among the grand Ferris wheel and the colorful day parade, there was one attraction that outshined them all, the Parade Princess, a mesmerizing mermaid named Kenya. Kenya was a sight to behold. At 22 years old, fresh out of college, she had the kind of beauty that drew people to her like moths to a flame. Her brown skin glowed under the park lights, her hair a stunning mix of purple and pink that cascaded over her shoulders. Little pink hearts adorned her cheeks, and a ribbon of color stretched across her nose. But it wasn't just her beauty that made her special.
Get your digital copy today at lulubooks.com and experience the adventure in EPUB or PDF format. Make sure you have a compatible reader to dive into this unforgettable journey. Don't miss out, unlock the secrets, and let the story begin.